Welcome back to Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week. I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we're so glad that you're back with us today. Today, we are talking about Inventing Anna, the first episode, Life as a VIP.
Anna. It's not Anna.
No, it's not Anna. It's Anna. Socialite or scam artist. Anna Delvey or Anna Sorokin or Anna Sorokin or Anna Sorokina.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those.
One of the same?
Heiress or actress. I'm guessing few people really know who Anna actually is.
Yeah, I think.
I'm not even sure Anna knows who Anna is.
Thank you. And I think that's the driving force, is Anna doesn't know who Anna is.
I think that's super fair.
But she's also capable of enjoying and being in so many different kind of styles that I think I can understand that a little bit.
Okay.
Because I enjoy a lot of variety too, right? Like I like to have my hair in various different ways, long, short, curly, straight, wavy. Like I've done all the things. I enjoy like the beachy kind of down home kind of life. I also can be really pretentious. Like I understand like that kind of variety.
Well, because she really seems almost at home in, I guess the 12 George in the show and Rikers.
Yeah.
Really almost equally at home.
Yeah. Of course, I guess what we're presented in the first episode is she's in a lot of different styles, but it is all high level VIP though.
Right.
Across the board. She doesn't actually go to lots of, but with the Rikers thing, she really does seem comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. It is weird.
Yeah.
But, makes for a really interesting story.
It's a great story. Okay. I've only watched 2 episodes.
Okay.
So I haven't had a chance to like straight up binge it, but you, I'm going to call her out right now. I'm going to call her out. You have binged it twice.
Yeah. Well, because I just went to go refresh my memory with the first episode again, because it had been like a week and a half since I watched it and I hadn't watched the first. And then I just kept watching.
Kept going. I can understand though. I mean, there's reasons why I couldn't keep going, but I would have. And I cannot wait. We are going to finish this very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it just goes down so easy.
It does.
Well, let's talk about this cast.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay,
Woo.
I'm only going to talk about a few people because this is this huge cast and it's setting up so many people that Anna is associated with. And so I'm only just going to talk about a few people. Okay. So Anna Chomsky is Vivian Kent. She was Vada in My Girl.
In My Girl.
I was like,
I see it. I see it in her.
And I was like, as soon as I read that, I did not make the connection, but as soon as I read it, I was like, oh, that's why she looks so familiar.
Me too. Absolutely the same.
That's why.
She was a staple of my childhood.
Yes. Yeah. Julia Garner is Anna, whatever her last name is. Of course, she is best known as Ruth Langmore in Ozark, but we've talked about her before because she was Tara Newell, the plucky daughter in Dirty John.
Yep.
Yeah.
She did a great job in that one, too.
Yeah,
she's great.
She is great.
She's great. I love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arian Moyed is Todd Spodek. He's been on Succession, and he's had small parts in 2 other shows that we have talked about. He had a small part in White Collar and a small part in The Following.
Yep.
And we've covered both of those.
Yeah. He's a familiar face. I always like it when he's on screen.
Yep. Me too. And man, if you look at him and the real life Todd Spodek, if it were me, I'd be very happy with that casting. Because Arian's beautiful.
Yes, he is.
Todd Spodek is not quite as beautiful.
Yeah.
But, he's also not on television.
Well, and there you go.
And that I read a criticism, why do they always cast these people? They're so much more attractive. I'm like, well, I don't want to watch the unattractive people do the awful things.
Yeah. You know what it is? I think it's that the more television worthy face, really, like that beautiful face can portray the beauty that might be inside a person.
Sure.
Way better.
Well, and quicker.
And quicker.
You don't have to get to know the person to understand why they were intriguing.
Right. And because, that's the thing about social life on digital is you forget how beautiful people are. You got to get close to them and hang out with them. And then all of a sudden they like come alive and there's like a beauty in absolutely everybody that you're with that maybe on a photograph you might be like, oh, she's a little comely or,
or just average.
You might do that. But like when you spend time with them, all of a sudden the eyes sparkle a little bit more and like something attractive comes out of them. That's our social or human connection. And with the screen in our way, we've got to make that connection differently, which is why they're kind of gifted and talented for acting.
There you go.
They're pretty faces.
My mom likes to tell a story because I was born in England. And so the nurse came to the house for the baby visit. Instead of you going to the doctor's office, they come to your house.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And my mom said the nurse that came was so homely that it literally took her breath away. And she said she walked in the door in 2 minutes. You didn't notice she was homely anymore because her personality shone through and she was so vivacious and warm and kind and all of these wonderful things. How awful would it be to have a person like that portrayed by somebody who maybe actually looks like them, and then you don't get that part of that connection.
Right, because it can't come through the screen.
Right, exactly.
The same way.
Yeah.
It is hard. I mean, we deal with these are existential questions because we all just want to be beautiful, you know? And,
exactly.
But it's okay to just admit that Arian is absolutely gorgeous.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, let's recap it.
Okay, let's recap.
All right, so everyone knows Anna. She's a legend who did nothing wrong, at least according to her voiceover. Yeah. It starts the same way all 9 episodes do, with the following statements. This whole story is completely true, except for all the parts that are totally made up. It's so great.
I love it.
I love it too. And of course, you have to make some things up for continuity of story. We don't have months of our lives to sit and binge this show.
Well, so it's funny because Adam McKay used the same statement in Don't Look Up.
Oh, yeah.
Which was completely made up. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that. I got to watch that movie again.
That movie was so funny.
Satire of the end of the world. Yeah. We're treated to Instagram photos of all the major players in the story, or at least their actors. And it starts in the middle. Anna is indicted for some pretty significant white-collar crimes. Yeah. A pregnant Vivian arrives at Manhattan Magazine with a story idea. Anna. German heiress or flat broke. Vivian is told to do the Wall Street Me Too story. It is 2018 after all, but she finds a way to decline.
Does she?
So Vivian goes to Anna's hearing to learn that Anna is being remanded to Rikers without bail. Vivian becomes obsessed with Anna's story, and Anna realizes that Vivian can serve a purpose. Is it mutually beneficial, or are these women using one another? I think that's a question that doesn't get answered.
Ooh, in some ways, yeah.
So it was brought to Netflix by Shondaland.
Woohoo!
And the wonderful Shonda Rhimes.
I'm a fan of Shonda Rhimes.
In case you're unfamiliar, she's the creator of Grey's Anatomy on ABC, the longest running drama on primetime.
Wow.
Yeah. 19 seasons.
Okay, I've never watched it.
Me either.
Not one episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Me either.
I don't know why I missed it.
I think it came on and I felt like I hadn't quite gotten over ER yet. And it felt like the same kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm not ready to jump into another medical soap opera.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't think I got into it because of a schedule thing initially. And then I don't know why. I just never did.
Me either.
But that's okay. I'm still a fan of all of our other stuff.
That's right. Well, Scandal. She was an executive producer on How to Get Away with Murder. Bridgerton, she's an executive producer. And Shonda Rhimes made a conscious choice not to meet Anna.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. She said, I have yet to meet somebody who didn't like Anna when they met her. I thought that if I went to that prison and got to know Anna, I too was going to be fielding calls from her in the middle of the night. I too am going to have an opinion. And if I have an opinion, I'm not going to be able to write this.
Ooh.
And I'm like, ooh, that's interesting.
That is interesting.
So the Observer had some thoughts about inventing Anna. Christine Hilario said that Netflix did pay Anna $320,000 for the rights to adapt her life. And I guess a lot of that went to pay off her debts because she had to make some restitution for things. This 9-episode miniseries manages to turn a life of intrigue into an overwrought slog that has nothing interesting to say about its complicated central figure, which I didn't agree with, but I thought was interesting. And it talks about how it's better when it's focusing on Anna and her deception, and that Garner did a good job portraying her with a ridiculous European accent. And this is fair. You probably don't see it in the first couple episodes, but Anna Chomsky pulls a lot of very exaggerated facial expressions, especially later on. It's distracting.
Oh,
I wish she'd toned it down just a little. And I'm not sure I'll be interested to hear your take on this after you've seen more of these episodes.
okay.
Although reveling in Anna's callous and manipulative actions is undoubtedly the most fun this series has to offer, the series manages to undercut its greatest strength by attempting to justify Anna's actions. The series tries to frame Anna as an underdog who worked her way up, but it doesn't work when she constantly takes advantage of and degrades everyone around her, which she does take advantage of people and degrade people. But I think there's a delicate balance of trying to say, look at how much she really did accomplish and how she didn't quite get there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean,
I don't feel like
I'm only a couple episodes in, but
I don't feel like they glorified her.
So far, it doesn't feel like glorification. I think it's just an honest depiction of somebody who can do good and is still frustrating. And frankly, I think if it had been a man, they probably wouldn't have had a problem with it. So,
Well, that's interesting that you say that because, and I didn't get any sources for this because I wasn't going to talk about it. But now that you kind of brought that up, so I watched The Tinder Swindler.
Okay.
And The Puppet Master.
Okay.
Also both on Netflix, which are men who've done similar sorts of situations, but much, much, much more expensive. They've swindled a whole lot more money, and neither one of those people are in jail.
Oh, see now?
But they're not in the U.S. either.
Oh.
So I think that maybe makes a difference.
Maybe it makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, and if you're hopping all over Europe, you go to a country that doesn't have extradition.
Yep, that's true.
For some of this stuff.
Well, I mean, she has like a way about her of doing the backhanded compliment thing, and then doing the backhanded I care about you compliment.
Right.
Or the backhanded I care about you concern. The why do you dress like that?
Are you poor?
Are you poor? And it's kind of harsh because it's harsh, but she frames it as a thing. So there's something there that's like, I feel like a clue to how she puts a wallop. That's her deflection mechanism every single time is to turn it around and gaslight. And it absolutely part of the manipulative personality. That's how she does it. In fact, I think there's one scene, and I think it's in the second episode, really, but where she gets in and she totally tears up this investor guy But she does it with a purpose and turns it around and softens it in the end and gets the money for the investment. And it's hard because a man probably would have done that. I don't think people would have batted an eye. They would have been like, ooh, that was good. And the show portrayed it as, ooh, that was good. But in the meantime, they were trying to call her off.
Right.
Nobody was like intrigued about what was happening. Everybody was like, oh my God, simmer down. Stop acting like that. And I don't know, maybe it's just our history of watching many shows and looking at a lot of that. I think other scenes may have been portrayed as everybody would have been interested in being like, oh my God, what's happening? And instead this time it was like, oh my God, you're so offensive. And it was only at the very end that she played the man's game and then got the money. And so for me, I was kind of like, I love this chick.
Yeah. I mean,
I just love her.
I do and I don't.
I don't. She's not okay.
No. Her behavior is not okay.
But in that scene, there's nothing wrong or illegal about it. She just played the game. And it was kind of like, that's great.
Yeah. So there was an article, maybe she had so much money, she just lost track of it, that you see being printed at the very beginning is the actual name of the article.
Oh, wow.
That was in New York Magazine. And I thought it had some interesting and studious observations.
Ooh, yes, please.
Why this girl? She wasn't super hot, they pointed out, or super charming. She wasn't even very nice. How did she manage to convince an enormous amount of cool, successful people that she was doing something she was clearly not? Anna looked at the soul of New York and recognized that if you distract people with shiny objects, with large wads of cash, with the indicia of wealth, if you show them the money, they will be virtually unable to see anything else. And the thing was, it was so easy.
I love that.
And I don't know that it was actually easy, but I think it's not maybe as hard as we think it might have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's an interesting amount of it was easy, but there was also an interesting amount of she was good at it and had an aptitude for it and could play the...
Yeah, there's one of the side characters, one of the friends who describes it. And he goes, what did he say? He said, she didn't have style. She had taste.
Oh, Val. Yes.
Val said that. Yeah. And I thought that's down to the detail.
Yeah.
There was not a bit of it that was a piece of theater.
Right.
Because she didn't put on a show.
Right.
She just sat there authentically dressed as she was dressed.
Right.
And was quiet and didn't say anything.
Yes.
And there's something very astute about that kind of description. She didn't have style. It wasn't theatrics. You can't get away with that in New York for sure. Everybody's got theatrics.
Well, but it kind of was because she changed. It's just
but
like
it was. But she
should have just been an actress.
She was great at it, but she understood taste to that level. It's we say this all the time about these crime shows. You have so much talent. Why not
do something positive with it?
Do something good with it. Like you could have actually been a great fundraiser.
Yeah.
She could have been fan-freaking-tastic at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she might not have been able to do it in New York to start.
Probably not.
And she wanted to start at the top.
She did.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Is It True, Psychology Break, and Real Life right after this.
So here's how it works. Christy wrecks her search history. Hey, NSA, we promise it's nothing more nefarious than a podcast. To find out what's true, some of the psychological motivations behind the characters' actions, and real-life applications that relate to our topic. I have no idea what Christy decided to look up. Could be the same thing that captured my curiosity or something I never thought of.
Is it true? So, Vivian Kent, not a real person, but based on a real person.
Who is it? Who is it based on?
Jessica Pressler.
Okay.
And this was actually not the first time she'd been portrayed as herself on screen. She also wrote the New York Magazine Hustlers at Scores, which got turned into the movie Hustlers.
Oh my gosh.
So this is not her first brush with writing something so incredible that it got turned into media entertainment.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yep. They asked her if there was any hesitancy to turn her article on a story into a television show. And she says, first of all, there wasn't a choice. Someone was going to do it. I was thinking about who was going to treat the real people involved properly, who was going to listen to them. That was important.
Yeah,
which I thought that was good. She didn't miss her ultrasound appointment, but she was pregnant while writing this story.
But she didn't miss the ultrasound.
She did not. She said there are parts of it that are very real, and then there are bits that are totally made up. I will say the tone is very different than me in real life. Journalists on television are a lot more confrontational. Which I'm like, that's fair. I have not landed on whether she's brilliant, conniving, or if she just kind of happened to be in the right place at the right time and has a little bit more tolerance for uncomfortable situations. I'm like, that is so true, because she has such a high tolerance for uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
She's a way of like, really like, I'm going to tolerate it and I'm going to really just turn it around. And instead of having somebody tell me I'm wrong, I'm going to own the situation.
Yeah, which is
so interesting.
That's a hard thing to, I mean, if you don't have that naturally, it's a hard skill to learn, I think.
Yeah. Well, and Manhattan Magazine is not real.
No.
It's based on New York Magazine.
Right.
Todd Spodek, the attorney, is real. That is his real name. But his wife is not Margaret Vanderburn Porter.
Okay.
His wife is Victoria Spodek, and they are both attorneys.
Okay.
But he was the one who grew up walking in his father's footsteps.
Oh.
They kind of play it as he's kind of the underdog looking for this big
score,
this big
case.
Yeah, to really propel him forward and make a name for himself. And he's trying to compete with his wife. That's not how it is. Mm-hmm. And his wife is an attorney. She worked at his firm for a while, like 8 years. She now works somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. Catherine McCaw is the DA who indicted Anna on these charges. Casey Duke, real.
Okay.
Really does have a fitness and life coaching business.
Okay.
That's very elite. She has had 57 celebrity clients, according to her website.
Oh.
Which I thought was an interesting thing to put on your website. But 57,670 hours at the gym, 57 celebrity clients, over 9,000 bodies sculpted, 12 countries and 34 cities.
Wow.
So she does some touring things.
Well, she does some good work then.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
I can't afford her.
So, yeah. No, $400 a session?
No.
That's fine.
That's the best reaction ever.
I mean, it's good for other people.
It's great for other people.
The New York Times tells us some of what is true and what is not, including the rich teen lie story, media visits at Rikers, and that accent.
Okay, so I have opinions about this accent.
Okay, we'll get there.
All right,
we'll get there.
We're gonna get there good because I want to talk about it.
Oh, and Neff Davis was a real person who really did work at the hotel. Jessica Pressler, just like Vivian Kent, did come under scrutiny after reporting a fake claim that a high school senior had made $72 million in the stock market. This is the whole thing that Vivian's fighting against. But by the time she met Anna in 2018, she'd already bounced back in her career. This was not the story that was fixing her career.
Yeah, so tell me more about this. What happened with the previous? Happened with the previous? Because if you're in the first episode, you really don't know what happened.
Right,
to her.
you just know that there's a whole situation.
There's a situation.
Situation she wants to repair before having this baby. Well, in the show, as in the real life, the journalist had spoken with a kid. A child, a teenager, who said they made a lot of money in the stock market. They somehow figured out how to game the system. And I say gain or game? It's game the system. Whatever. It's game the system. Whatever. I know what it is. Forgive me if I misspoke. Forgive me for misspeaking when I tried to re-speak. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
But he had somehow figured out how to make all this money and lied about it.
Okay. And she reported it.
And in the show, somebody who was supposed to fact check it didn't fact check it. I don't know how that really happened in real life, but it was kind of messy. In real life, she'd already bounced back from that and had her career back on track after this misstep. In the show, this is the thing that's going to either make or break her career.
Before she has a baby.
Mm-hmm. As far as the jail scenes at Rikers.
Okay, yes, please talk to me about this.
It's a pretty accurate depiction of what family and friends go through to visit people behind bars. So it's, the pat down, the buses, the whole kit and caboodle. Anna wants the media visit, the VIP visit. And the author of this article, Emily Palmer, said that those authorized media visits that Netflix refers to as the VIP visits are from a dream Rikers. Sure, reporters get to skip a few buses when they schedule ahead, but that can take a month or more. And there's nothing that feels very VIP at the jail itself.
Okay.
So it's not, they made it into this kind of...
Oh, you get tea and you get...
a cushy room. No.
Yourself.
They would not feed it to you if they're going to give you tea, which they are not, they would not give it to you in a ceramic mug.
No.
That's just asking for somebody to break a mug and murder a journalist. And the accent.
Yes. Okay.
So
I have opinions about this.
Okay.
Let's see what they had to say.
They say it's virtually untraceable. It's got a lot of influences from everywhere and nowhere. And they said, did Garner get it right? Well, Garner has nailed the essence of the accent's oddity. Sorokin's actual voice is softer and her pronunciation subtler. Anna said herself she got it right in a way. Now, I almost didn't want to watch this show because of the accent. Because I was like, it sounds not good. And then I watched an interview.
With her on Jimmy Fallon?
No, it wasn't her on Jimmy Fallon. It was something else. I don't remember what it was. But I was like, oh, she nailed it.
Yeah.
She sounds very like her.
So I watched an interview with Julia. Did you talk about with Julia Garner?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Julia Garner got the accent right.
Yeah.
No, I watched an interview with Anna.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So her talking, and I'm like, where she said, I did nothing wrong. She's got this whole, and it is softer. It's a little less enunciated than Garner's, but so much like it. I was like, oh. Okay, so that's why it sounds weird, because that's how Anna sounded.
So when I first heard it, what I nailed down quickly for me was that it is a made-up accent because she's a made-up individual.
Yeah.
Who is trying to create an image of somebody who fits into all these different places. Mm-hmm. And that's why it sways. And she sways into different accents based on what she thinks the person wants to hear. And I heard it because she's supposed to be a Russian who is like a German who is just from general Europe, who is also American, New York, but then she uses the syrupy, sweet New Orleans kind of feel to kind of soften it up at times. And so I felt like this is the key, this is the clue that she's a scam artist.
Okay.
It's not something you can nail down.
Right.
And she needs it to be that way because she doesn't want anybody to know her background.
She needs to sound exotic.
Right.
But undefinable.
Right. And so what's funny is I watched an interview after seeing these episodes with Julia Garner and Jimmy Fallon where she talks about the accent. Oh, and she goes through that. Yes. And I was kind of like, yay me, I got it right. Because that's what she explains, is that she has to do all of these things. And it's really actually kind of funny. She makes a few statements about accents in America versus Europe. And then she kind of, as she's describing and explaining it, she falls into the accent and does it.
So fun.
And it's like, whoa, it's so cool.
That's
so
super
anyway,
fun.
It's totally worth watching. We'll have to post it.
Oh yeah. And I'll post videos of interviews with Anna herself.
Yeah.
Which
It's a
wow.
She's
it's
created
a lot.
it. It's kind of like how Rue McClanahan created the accent for Blanche.
Yeah.
Which is also, it's definably Southern.
Right.
But it's Southern in a way that she's taken certain things and characteristically exaggerated them so they're uniquely Blanche.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Which we all do. We have
right.
our things that we kind of do that exaggerates where we're at. We all have our own individual personality dialects, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's
anyway,
interesting.
but so the accent didn't bother me right off. Only because to me, I felt like, oh, she's such a scam artist.
Uh-huh.
Look at her go. You know?
You're
but
like,
I can understand why it would be really annoying to listen to.
Yeah. Well, because I thought it was not good. And it wasn't that it was not good. It was that it was
right on.
It feels it.
And the
so
original
right on,
is not
and
good.
She's a scam artist, and you can't kind of feel it.
Yeah,
and it's like, how can I feel that, and all these people didn't?
Right,
people with money didn't
notice this accent. Like that would bother me right off,
especially in a town like New York.
Yeah,
you would think that they would have a little more experience with.
Yeah, like why does it change?
But maybe because they do have a broad experience with accents is why they question it less.
You know what I noticed though? In the scenes at Rikers, she fluidly goes between certain things. It's like she's searching for the one that Vivian wants to communicate with. But in the scenes where she's with her friends, it's pretty pointed.
Yeah.
It's standard. Like it stays kind of like this European German accent with the one friends. And then the other people mentioned that she was so exotic and Russian and stuff. So I bet that when she was in those situations, it may have been a little bit more characteristic of her background versus where she's at, because she probably tried some things out to see what stuck.
Yeah.
What was going to get them.
What do I work?
Sometimes the Southern accent is very charming and you do it, and sometimes it's not. And you just... I dropped it.
Yeah.
People don't really know that in my very comfortable at home speaking, I have a very Southern accent. Mm-hmm. But when I'm out and about, I find it to be more distracting.
Right.
Especially when I was working in the New England area and in other areas. And so you can drop it, which makes it sound unauthentic sometimes because it's straight, and then every once in a while a word will come out. And it's like, what? Mm-hmm. You know? What's that now? So
let's see. In passing, Vivian mentions that Anna had a foot in the door at Fortress.
Yeah. Okay. Talk about this.
She did. And Fortress is very real.
Okay.
Fortress is an investment group that, according to their website, is leading a highly diversified global investment manager with approximately $54 billion of assets under management. And they were founded in 1998. They specialize in asset-based investing. So it seems like that would suggest real estate, which is kind of what she was trying to get investment for. Right. But she was leasing it. She wasn't buying it. So that was interesting. You'll learn about that. You'll get there. You'll learn about that later. But she was also securing this investment with money she already had, or that she claimed to have. She said that she was getting this approval from Fortress based on the idea that she had a $60 million trust fund. So she was a good investment for $40 million or $25 million, or how, I think it was, they said $40 million in the show. I think it was more around $25 million. Okay. But she would be a low risk because she had this money to secure it.
Yeah. And she didn't.
And she didn't. But she didn't get away with it. Yeah. She almost got away with it. Almost. But she didn't get away with it. So.
But just the upfront capital to run this game.
I mean,
how do you dress in all of that fancy stuff?
I don't know how you afford Dior and Louboutins.
No, I don't understand that.
But I don't know where she came up with the money to run this whole scam
that's
to start.
Upfront amount of capital.
Not a small amount of upfront capital either. We're talking like tens of thousands of dollars,
at least,
in her wardrobe alone. Yeah, let alone the fancy places she stays and the dinners and.
Yeah, it's bananas to me.
Yeah,
how much money? I mean, you can have good taste and never be able to dress like that.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So the bus at Rikers is called Rosie because the place that it takes you to is Rikers Island Rose M. Singer Center.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And the DA mentions that there's a government agency to report financial crime in case anybody was a victim. So there's not just one place.
I would imagine
there's like a bunch. So, if you have an investment securities fraud, it's the Security and Exchange Commission. There's a Internet Crime Complaint Center. There's the Housing and Urban Development that will help with housing discrimination, which is a type of financial crime. Identity theft is the FTC. Telemarketing fraud is the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. If you have mortgage and loan, then you would talk to the FBI. So there wasn't just like one place.
No. I imagined that on the television screens at home, there was one hotline for this one particular person or whatever.
Right.
They flash one call center number.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
On television, let's public access. Who's watching this?
I don't know.
Nobody that would have financial crimes to report on Anna.
That's right.
So Todd Spodek and his wife were late to the opening of the Ailey. And I'll mention this because it's, of course, the Alvin Ailey American Theater.
I'm crushed.
I know you're crushed because you would like to go to any opening at the Ailey. And we were supposed to go see.
They were supposed to be here.
Yeah, they were supposed to come to San Antonio, the theater company that travels and does beautiful dance. We were supposed to go, and then they canceled, and it's
I've been
very
dying
sad.
to see Alvin Ailey since the mid-90s, and I would love to go, and they didn't come, and it's because of COVID. I mean, they had a COVID outbreak, and they canceled their New York dates. So what happened was they canceled their tour dates to go to New York.
Right. It's a shame. Yeah. And you're only a little bitter.
Come back.
So they mentioned a few times, well, there's already been articles about Anna, but it was only in the Post. So I was like, do New Yorkers really have such a low opinion of the Post?
I think that's true.
Oh, yeah, mostly.
Yeah. Okay.
So somebody asked on Quora. Now, I know that's not a scientific.
No, but it gives some pretty good answers.
But it'll give you some situations. Monty says that the New York Post is one of the oldest newspapers in the United States, founded in 1804 by Alexander Hamilton. And then it was purchased and turned into, as he calls it, a right-wing rag. Somebody with the initial R. I stopped reading the Post in the 7th grade when my teachers drilled into our heads that it is basically written for 3rd graders. Ouch. Peter says the local coverage is good, but you have to filter out all the noise baked into their prose.
Yeah.
Somebody else compared it to the National Enquirer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Another person.
Sorry, now the whole musical's running through my head.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's easy to do because we listen to it a lot.
Yeah.
We're in a Hamilton totally revival in our house.
Excellent.
We didn't really get into it when it was first out. We kind of, it was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that. That's fun. Right now, I don't know what's happened, but we're fully obsessed with it.
Yeah, everybody is. Yeah, that's fun. So the 12 George, all fake. You can't stay there. But it is pretty closely based on a real hotel called the 11 Howard.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, good.
I was like, oh, that's kind of fun.
12 George is a better name.
Yeah, yes.
Than 11 Howard. Howard? Come on.
I'm sure it's Howard Street.
I'm sure.
It's like number 11 Howard Street or something like that.
Yeah.
So makes it easy to find, whatever. But in the show, the rooms were $1,700 a night.
Okay, tell me this.
They're actually about $400 a night for the kind of room she was in, the deluxe room.
Right, which was beautiful.
Which was very nice. So in the show, at the end of the episode, Anna declines the plea deal.
Yeah.
So according to Town and Country, that in June of 2018, Delvey and her lawyer attempted to make a plea deal, but Judge Diane Kiesel rejected it, saying Delvey showed no remorse.
Oh, it was the other way around.
It was the other way around.
Ooh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it doesn't make as good a story that way.
Definitely not. But that's interesting to know.
Mm-hmm. All of the sources that we use to inform our discussion here on Killer Fun Podcast can be found on our social media. Join us on Facebook at Killer Fun Podcast, exploring the intersection of crime and entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod, or you can send us an email at killerfunpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to share a link to whatever information you're looking for. We love to hear from you. You might learn a little something too. So, psychology break.
Ooh, okay, let's.
So,
yeah, this is going to be fun.
The Conversation had an article, Inside the Mind of an Online Scammer. So, and I think a lot of these things sort of are universal to scammers.
Yeah, probably.
So, they kind of looked at it as scammers are just like the rest of us. They're liars. Yeah.
Okay.
Because, everybody tells a little white lie now and again, and that's just, to either smooth things over or make life a little easier, whatever. And this says, fraudsters are constantly building better mousetraps in order to lure increasingly sophisticated mice. So, for example, Prince Charles was involved into a counterfeit art scandal. Ooh. And Dame Helen Mirren didn't go into details, but was the victim of a humiliating scam.
I mean, I don't know that, gosh, I struggle with the jump from everybody tells little white lies to scammers, because we lie to protect ourselves and to let ourselves keep going without having to deal with the drama that is explaining everything. And scammers do it to manipulate someone else.
Right. Well, they kind of talk about how it's sort of not unknown within the animal kingdom at large. They have this whole deception that they talk about in other species.
Right, yeah.
Where animals use behavioral and chemical mimicry. And that embezzlement is sort of a similar situation where they put themselves with privileged access to resources and reputation to illegally extract finances from other people. So sort of similar, but they talk about lying for altruistic purposes, like white lies. No, your butt doesn't look big in those pants. And that, you're more likely to tell those kind of lies to people you don't know very well. Mm-hmm. And then serious lies are things you tell to people that you're closer to.
Right.
Which would make sense. Anna would have to get closer to some of these people to be able to extract the kinds of money. And people tell serious lies in order to avoid punishment, protect themselves from confrontation, appear a highly desirable person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So scammers have this sort of deceptive behavior, and it might originate in some of the typical motivations of deception.
That's scary.
So to appear highly desirable or, some of those things, but then they tend to use it and elevate it and make it more intense in order to extract the money or whatever.
Yeah.
Usually money. So it could be jewels. It could be
whatever, like it is.
Influence of some kind. And it says the criminals in question tend to have traits of psychopathic and antisocial personality disorders.
Yeah.
And they tend to have elevated cognitive ability.
I know, and that's scary.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
Again, you're so smart.
Do better things.
Just do real things.
If you've got psychopathic tendencies, if you've got antisocial behavior, that's, that's hard.
All right. So now I'm gonna caveat this with this is Anna in the show I'm talking about.
Okay.
That I think I'm not I have not met Anna. I have not watched very many interviews with her. I have no clinical diagnosis. I have no expertise in order to clinically diagnose this person.
Good caveat.
Whatsoever. I am talking about what I saw in the character in the show.
Okay, fair.
I think she might have had a little histrionic personality disorder.
Oh, yeah, that nails it right there.
Does it? Okay, good.
Very, very
because
much so.
I'm reading this from the Cleveland Clinic. And I'm like, whoo, ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
Their self-esteem depends on the approval of others. People with this disorder have an overwhelming desire to be noticed and often behave dramatically or inappropriately to get attention. Intense, unstable emotions and distorted self-images. Check. It is more common in women than men and is usually becomes evident in early adulthood.
Yeah.
About the right age.
Yep.
They don't know the cause of it. It could be a combination of learned and inherited traits. It's difficult to know. Some of the symptoms: uncomfortable unless they're the center of attention. Emotions shift rapidly. They act dramatically. They're overly concerned with physical appearance. They lack sincerity. Easily bored by routine. Self-centered and rarely show concern for others. Have difficulty maintaining relationships and often seem fake or shallow in their dealings with others. Check. And they said it's difficult because there are no laboratory tests.
Oh, no, it's a personality disorder.
It's a personality disorder. Yes. And what they really need is therapy in order to treat it. Unfortunately, most of the people who are afflicted by it don't think they have a problem.
Right. And a lot of times these personality disorders, you kind of get like a handful of them. It's kind of like a mixed bag.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of people are moving to a more dimensional approach of diagnosis rather than taking like a medical approach, which is categorical. Like you have this set of symptoms or you have this diagnosis. A lot of people are saying, okay, there's these dimensions and each person is going to be diagnosed for their custom situation. And so there are profiles that are more similar to these categories. But your profile, for instance, she is not uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations.
No.
Right? But she could have learned that skill, or it could just be one of the lower dimensions.
Right.
Right. Depending on what she is. She has far more psychopathy, and far more antisocial behavior. So that might overwhelm her uncomfortable situations, because the more you're antisocial, the more you love the fact that it's all uncomfortable.
Right.
So it kind of equals out, right?
Yeah.
So there's a dimensional approach there, but absolutely, this is a profile that could be applied.
Certainly to the character.
Oh, yes. To the character.
Yeah.
To the character.
Basically, they don't think they can prevent it. Because...
Yeah, these personality disorders, these are...
Yeah.
People will tell you that there's no cure, it's a bad prognosis. Most people don't get better, right? It's not good. Like when you have somebody in your household or in your family that has like a personality disorder, it's extremely difficult to deal with, because they don't... getting them to acquiesce to the fact that they have a disorder that requires... some treatment, it's a big thing. But preventing it, this is the nature versus nurture thing. Like, we've talked about this before, but, you have something in you that's kind of a nature thing. And then something happens in your nurture, and it kind of sparks that expression of genes.
Right.
That then gets somehow reinforced enough that the wires are built, right? And so it's... Unfortunately, we do see things that people who are abused or neglected or have rough childhoods are more likely to. Is it not a cause? No. It is a correlation. However, it does suggest looking into why did if this person has this natural tendency and then this thing happens.
Yeah.
But how do you
yeah.
So it's really... Boy, personality disorders are horrible.
Yeah. Well, and it's really challenging because many of them don't think that they need help. They tend to be pretty functional at work.
Yes.
They can be good at their jobs, but really have a hard time maintaining relationships, which can affect their jobs. It's a whole complicated
It's a whole complicated thing. And, it takes a lot of self-awareness for somebody to kind of overcome certain aspects. Yeah. Ooh, Lord.
All right. So real life. Vivian was right. It took Wall Street longer to get on board with the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
She talks about how she did not want to be the one to throw Wall Street women under the bus. And she was not wrong. And the New York Times has a very interesting article. Sarah Tershwell was working as a chief compliance officer. They called her into HR and told her she'd breached an ethical wall and that she was being fired. And she said she did not recall breaching that ethical wall ever. And it was because 9 days before that, she'd made a formal complaint of sexual harassment. Oh, she was one of the first to come out, and that her boss, I'm going to name him because he's named in this article, Jess Ravitch, had pressured her into sex several times during her tenure with the firm. And when she stopped sleeping with him, she claimed he stopped supporting her fund. She said they manufactured a potentially career-ending charge by falsely accusing her to force a quiet exit. It's all very interesting. And it was 2019 before Me Too really kind of came to Wall Street. So it was, a couple years after the original. So it did take longer. Vivian was right about that, but that article is fascinating, but doesn't really have anything to do with inventing Anna, other than the fact that
she declined to do the story in the show.
So the assistant DA who was in the courtroom, she was sitting at the table. She didn't really say anything at all. She says that her involvement was minimized in the show. She seemed annoyed by that. Oh. I'm like, well, I get it, but I also get it from a storytelling standpoint. You can't. We already had 2 lawyers. Do we need a third?
Yeah, exactly.
Not really. Anyway, but her name is Kagan Mays Williams. And she would just like to remind to everyone that inventing Anna erases the many working class people whose jobs were compromised, restaurant staff, bank tellers, hotel workers, by her fraud.
Yeah.
So, keep that in mind. We see this and it's all the flashy people.
Right. But actually many people were.
So many. It wasn't a victimless crime. A lot of people are saying, who cares if the, big banks get defrauded? Well, yeah, but you know what? There was a bank teller who went ahead and cashed that check. There was somebody who took her phone call, somebody who processed her loan application. I mean, all of those people have an effect by this.
Right.
And when those companies are defrauded, the lower down people are the ones who pay the price first.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Vivian tells her husband that she can't take a break from work because Google never forgets.
True.
It never forgets so much that the European Union had fussed at Google and said that people have the right to remove information that is inadequate, irrelevant, or no longer relevant or excessive. Back in 2014, they forced Google to put up an application form so that people could remove some things from their search history that were no longer appropriate. That is still active. Is interesting, though. I went and visited this form just for fun. It only removes it in the EU.
Yeah. So
if you go to google.com or google.ca in Canada, or Hong Kong's Google, or South Africa's Google.
What people are generally doing in your region, though, it'll,
if you happen to live in the EU, yes. This form is for requesting removal of specific results and queries that include your name from a Google search.
Okay.
If you want it removed by, say it's on a blog, and you want your name taken off the blog, they're telling you, you have to contact that blogger. They're not going to do that for you, which makes sense. I thought this was interesting. When you make your requests, we will balance the privacy rights of the individual concerned with the interest of the general public in having access to the information, as well as the right of others to distribute the information. For example, we may decline to remove certain information about financial scams, professional malpractice, criminal convictions, or public conduct of government officials. Okay. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And they put a notice in that says that certain results have been removed. So, for example, they've been doing that for a while. If you Google Watch the Wolf of Wall Street online, you'll get a
thing that says,
I did this too.
Okay.
In response to multiple complaints we received under the whatever law it would have been, we have removed certain number of results from this page.
So you know that they've requested them to be removed.
Right.
I mean, in some ways I'm fine with that. Like as career, like if you got that, if you were searching for a new employee, you might be hiring.
Right.
And that came up, it forces them to ask you directly, and then you get to deal with it directly instead of having them go behind and form an opinion and then never even talk to you again.
Right.
So it forces the conversation in a way that you can say, yes, this is what happened. This was the result of that. This is what I've learned from it.
Right.
That you may not come up in an interview unless you're at that next phase.
Yeah, but then you have to talk about this thing from like your way past. And I'm like, I can see both sides of it.
I can see both sides of it. But I would rather somebody talk to me. If something happened like that was on straight up like viral and I would rather them talk to me instead of Google it.
For sure.
For
sure.
So I can at least have the opportunity to.
Yeah. But Google just doesn't forget.
No, it doesn't.
So Vivian tells Spodek that the more she knows about Anna, the less she knows.
Yeah, I love it.
Which I'm like,
I love it.
Our Daylist had an article about this exact thing because it's a famous Aristotle quote. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah.
Which it says when your experience is very small, you realize that there are a few things you don't know, but you think you know most of it. Mm-hmm. And that the wider your experience gets, the more things you realize that you don't have experience with.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very, very true.
It's so interesting.
That's what people have a problem with science about.
Yes, because their experience of it is really small. Right. And so they think, so I don't know exactly how DNA works.
Right.
But I know enough to know that you should be able to do this. Oh, well, yeah, but what you don't know is that there's a whole bunch of factors outside of that. Yeah. And when your experience is small, you can't see those other factors that might affect why something works or doesn't work.
Yeah, and you have to know that you don't know what you don't know.
Right, exactly.
And then it's the cliche. They know just enough to get them in trouble.
Right, exactly. And Anna's situation was very like this. Yeah. The more that Vivian or Jessica learned about Anna's situation, the more they realized so much more here that I can't see, but I can tell that it's probably there.
Yeah, exactly. It was good. It was a good way to end it.
So where is Anna now?
Yes, please. Tell me. Where is Anna?
Well, she was released on parole in February of 2021 after serving 3 years of her 4 to 12 year sentence.
Okay.
And she was released on good behavior. And she settled her debts. And then she checked into the Nomad Hotel in downtown Manhattan and resumed her Instagram life. And then eventually rented an apartment and checked in with her parole officer. All very good. Hired a videographer, which makes complete sense. Yeah. But in March of 2021, just a month later, she was arrested by immigration for overstaying her visa.
Oh.
So she was supposed to be deported back to Germany at the end of March of last year of 2021. But she keeps filing applications for relief and asking for asylum.
Right.
And basically, please don't make me go back to Germany. Mm-hmm. In June, her application for asylum was denied, but she appealed it and still remains in custody in an upstate New York facility. Yep. The chances are good she's going to end up back in Germany.
Yeah.
But
and we don't know anything about her. We don't know what she's running from.
We don't know. I mean, she says basically what she said is that because there was a lot of publicity about her, she's going to not be treated very well in Germany.
Mm-hmm. There's so many questions about where this person came from. It's just maddening.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah. But, you know, even in ICE detention, she's growing her Instagram following.
Yes. How many new followers has she gotten?
So she had
since this
in the beginning, in early February, on February 8th.
Okay.
She had 150,000 Instagram followers.
Okay.
Still not anything to sneeze at.
Oh,
a decent amount.
Yeah.
It's over 860,000 followers now. I looked a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So she's got a podcast and a book project in the works. And she says she's really making lemonade from her lemons. And
I don't doubt it.
I mean, I don't either. Because it doesn't seem like she's going to fade away. We're going to end up hearing more from Anna Delvey, as she prefers to be called.
Yes.
So tell us what we're going to talk about next time.
We are going to watch the Netflix series, The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window.
Yes.
That's a great title. I just love it.
It's so long and still somehow it's totally fitting and totally okay that it's long. It doesn't matter anymore if there's long titles and it's...
Oh, it is intriguing to me right off.
What is her name?
Kristen Bell.
Oh, yeah.
Is the lead. And in the trailer, she pours the entire bottle of wine into this giant glass. And I was like, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
It's just too funny.
It's super funny. And it's I would say not dissimilar to Veronica Mars.
Well.
Where it's kind of serious, but got some levity to it.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I want to watch this so bad.
Okay, good. I think we're going to do the first 2 episodes of that because they're pretty short.
Okay, let's do it.
I think they're only half an hour or so.
Okay.
So excellent. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We know you make a choice when you listen to us. And until next time, be safe, be kind, and wash your hands.
Da, da, da.